This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome in, Paul Catalina and Steven Simcox, the Wednesday Wonderkind.
I like it, yeah.
Yeah. You know, I mean, you may not be a Wonderkind very long. I mean, like, you're still in your...
I'm in my 30s now.
You're in your 30s, so you can still
fit.
do it, yeah. You at 35, it's all over. I probably, Garrett knows. It's like once you hit 35.
Oh, yeah, it's downhill.
That's the end of the line?
That's where, when you hit 35, like 35 in a day is where you start thinking about, like, 40's the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the next thing. And then each passing birthday in the 30s as you try to be, like, in your 30s a little bit more. Now, your 40s are great. I think my 40s are great. Garrett's not 40 just yet, but 40s are great. I love my 40s. Love it. But, like, it is a hard thing to, like, wrap your head around because you think about, I am my parents' age when I thought they were the worst. Like, the most embarrassing point of my life was my parents were in their 40s and I was a teenager. Mm-hmm. And now I'm going to be in my 40s. So even though I don't have teenagers, does that make me, by just the law of the universe, embarrassing?
I don't think about my age a ton, but there are some things like, you know, people are like, are you a morning person or like a night owl? Like, are you more productive in the evenings, early in the morning? And I used to be like, oh, yeah, late at night. And then I realized the last few years, I'm like, oh, I just had no responsibilities for a long time. Like, I could stay up till midnight because I would wake up at 8 or whatever. And I mean, I had a job, but I didn't have to be there super early. So it was very different. And now, like, by 9 o'clock, I'm usually falling asleep. But I do remember watching the Olympics this year, and I can't remember the swimmer's name, but he was like 32 years old. I'll be 32 in about a month and a half. And they were just talking about him like he was the bravest man in the world to be out there trying to do something athletic at 32. It's like, look at this amazing old man.
Most people at 32 drown.
They didn't get near a pool. They just started falling in.
Unless we remember the story of Lester Simpson, who at 34 tried to make an Olympic comeback and just 50 meters in
fell in the pool.
Drowned.
Yeah,
just drowned
like a rock straight to the bottom of the pool.
Yeah, we all remember those 1968 games with the tragedy, and then he floated up because it was a 1500. So and they couldn't stop it. They just had to go past him and hope he didn't.
It's like a buoy in the water.
Hope he didn't float into the other lanes.
Yeah, that was a humbling moment. They're like, oh, look at this guy trying to do it in his old age.
Lest you forget 21-year-old Hungarian swimmer who was cost the bronze by the carcass of Lester Simpson.
Couldn't get around it.
It's still under protest all these years later. But
somebody's logging on, like Googling Lester Simpson now.
Yeah. Here's the thing about the Olympics. You mentioned at 32. So you have these sports where, like, when you're in your 20s, even like gymnastics, when you get into your 20s, it's like,
you're over the hill.
You better be at your peak because the next time it comes around, you won't be in this thing.
Right.
And then you see a sport like dressage, and the lady who won the gold medal is 58 years old. And you're like, well, I don't know. Like, I'm not sure who the real athlete is here.
There's some that are better than others in that regard. The breakdancing one, there was like a 42-year-old woman.
Well, she was the one for Australia. Ray Gun, right?
Ray Gun kind of schemed her way onto the stage. Yeah. She's faced some backlash since, but
she's created a fervor. Like, to me, it's worth it to be a meme for the rest of your life.
I mean, hey,
where people she brought people joy,
right? Yeah,
confusion.
She'll probably confusion for sure.
Yeah.
She'll bounce back. It'll be fine.
Yeah. She's like a college professor.
People will feel sorry for her. She'll get her 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah.
Who was the old guy that, like, the Turkish guy who went out there and was just shooting guns with no
all these
no
other
gear
people
on?
have, like, all this ridiculous gear.
Yeah.
And I think about that, like, I thought about that right after that I was watching archery. And archery has all this gear too, and like the bows have these balancing things on it. And look, if I was trying to like legit shoot a deer or something with it, I would want all that stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't want to just fire off arrows into nowhere. But I thought for Olympic target practice,
it's a little much.
It just felt a little bit much. I don't like. Yes, they're more skilled than me. I'm not knocking them, but I would like to see the same thing with a guy just walk up with like a bow and a string and just be like,
Start going sweatpants on and everything.
yeah. That guy just walked up and was like, he had his hand in his pocket.
He looks like he found out he was in the Olympics that day. Like he was walking around and they're like, hey, you want to shoot guns? And he's like, sure, yeah.
Yeah. That guy also to me is terrifying because like that's one of the, like he had the look of a hitman.
Yeah.
Where
I don't think we need to dig too much in his past.
No.
It's not going to be a
feel
it's not going to be a feel good story anymore.
No, like, you know,
might be a good movie.
Yeah. They call him the medalist.
Hitman turned Olympic champion.
Yeah. Or no, he was just an Olympic champion turned hitman.
Oh, yeah.
That's why, like, you know.
There you go.
Yeah. And so he just showed up and was like, okay, boom, boom, boom. So the medalist. And then he goes back to Turkey and somebody calls him and says, we have a target for you. He's like, I don't get out of bed for less than $2 million.
So open a Word document, Garrett. Let's knock out the screenplay while we're doing the show.
Yeah.
I'd probably get a straight to Netflix movie.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't think that's hard.
No. I mean, I've
if
been
you
around
wanted
Netflix.
to take a bit of a loss on what you thought your movie was going to be, like, I think we could sell a movie to Netflix.
Especially if it was like Christmas themed. There's a ton of those.
Oh man. Like, I mean, I remember when, like, my wife loves Hallmark Christmas movies and Great American Family Christmas movies or Gaff.
They're on the Gaff network, honey.
Yeah. Great American Family. Well, only one kind of family.
Not a ton of diversity on that channel?
Yeah. And one kind. There's one kind of family. So, but she watches them and they're all like, they have these, and I know like the big actors on it probably make really good money because they're the name that are going to carry it. And look, if you're a working actor, like you cannot begrudge a working actor of taking a gig, no matter how stupid it is.
Right.
Like
there can be a long time between jobs.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like you wake up in the morning after you finish one thing and you go right to the next one. You know, you have to, you know, do some stuff. You know, you're not going to like everything you do, just like nobody likes everything they do in their job. But it's like they have a search and replace, and they'll just take out the job of the main characters and replace it with a different winter-themed job.
Yeah.
And then, like, okay, replace all Jasons with Devons. So his name is Devon. He's no longer blonde. He's got dark hair.
Now he owns a Christmas tree farm.
Yeah, yeah, that's what they do. And, you know, then they just then they go from there and tweak it on. Well, this is too repetitive, so let's change this up a little bit. You know, why they can't be together at first. So I think we could do it for the medalist.
Yeah, we can make that happen.
Yeah, the medalist. He's Turkish, which sounds scary enough.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, like I don't know, like
he goes back home.
I'm thinking this is a you know, something for like Steven Dorff we could get Steven Dorff. We could definitely get Steven Dorff.
He's probably available, yeah.
Yeah, Steven Dorff. You know, I mean, Neeson might do it. He seems to do a lot.
Yeah, I haven't seen Liam in a movie in a while.
Yeah, so maybe
there was some where he was like driving a car. I don't remember that one, but
yeah.
I also heard that, speaking of that type of actor, Jason Statham, somebody told me to watch The Beekeeper.
Yeah.
Have you seen that yet?
No.
I haven't either, but apparently it's good.
No. I'm Jason Statham.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, I can do, like, another one, like they do the Hallmark Christmas movie thing for his, like, I'm an assassin. I'm a beekeeper. I'm going to make this right. That's what he's going to do.
Yeah.
So, you know.
You got to know your niche, man.
Yeah.
You got to understand what your strength is.
Hobbs, I'm sure I'll kill you.
It's like how late in his career Nick Cage has just been like, I'm just going to be a weird guy.
Oh, now look, Nick Cage has two kinds of movies. Amazing movies. And terrible movies.
Yeah.
And he goes hard in the paint in both of them.
He does.
So
you're gonna get Nick Cage's.
You're gonna get Nick Cage's best. You're not maybe gonna get everybody else's best in the bad one because they're like, I can't keep pace with this guy. And then like in the good ones, you're like, you know, you've got people who are ready to match the level.
Yeah.
So
it's like Adam Sandler. He's gonna do 2 or 3 a year. One of them might not be great, but you take them all.
Yeah. No, look, Adam's just having fun.
Yeah.
That's
He's
the
just
thing.
putting his buddies in there.
Yeah, he's having fun. You got to respect it.
Except for Uncut Gems, that didn't seem fun. It seemed like a good movie. Great movie.
Yeah.
Didn't seem like a fun one.
It was the most stressed I've ever been watching a movie.
I had to stop midway through the first time I watched it.
Oh my God.
I was not expecting
Emery, have you
it.
ever seen Uncut Gems? Yeah. It's the tensest thing in the world.
Yeah. I have enough anxiety in my own life. I don't need
I
don't need to add on to it.
Going through it never stops. There's not 1 second in the movie where it stops being tense. Like even like backstory, the backstory is tense.
Yeah.
Like there's no happy moment that led him to this point. He's just
Kevin Garnett's there for some reason. It's a whole thing.
Yeah. Kevin Garnett kills it as Kevin Garnett.
He does good, yeah.
He does it good.
He does well.
As like an a-hole version of Kevin Garnett.
I think that's just Kevin Garnett, brother. We've kind of Disney-fied Kevin Garnett, but he's always kind of been that way.
Yeah, just buying a rock because it was lucky.
All the fun trash talk stories from Kevin Garnett are just like NBA players be like, yeah, he just called me horrible names for 2 hours. It was so fun. It's like, I don't think he was having fun.
You really felt that about you.
He's not Don Rickles. Like I'm not sure he was in on the joke. I think he just thinks you're trash at basketball.
All right, Steven, first topic of the day. Who do you believe is America's coach in college football? If you had to select someone who America could get behind, and I say this because we're in an election year, so if we were going to elect America's coach, who would be your candidate?
It's a great question.
And it's got to be like the way I look at it is somebody that is not very polarizing, right? I mean, because it can't be Kirby Smart, right? He's the establishment.
Yeah.
It's got to be a current coach. Nick Saban's retired, so you can't say it's Nick Saban, and it wouldn't have been Nick Saban anyway. But if you had America's salt of the earth, this is the coach, who would that be?
Man, this is a really good question. A guy who, this is not my answer, but I think his image shift has been interesting. Like Nick Saban towards the end became a lot more popular. He sort of went through he had a ton of success. Everybody hated him, but then he was really honest and he's kind of a funny guy and forthright. And so I feel like his popularity grew. The person I'm going to say, I don't think you'll agree with me. He used to be very polarizing. I feel like he's actually kind of embraced who he is a little bit more and it's helped. But I would say Lane Kiffin.
I thought that's who you were going to say. Look, Lane Kiffin is a guy. Look, they always say the person who gets elected is the one you'd most want to have a beer with. That's usually the case.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, I can go back candidate for candidate, and even though sometimes you win and sometimes you lose, and you were the beer guy, and now you're not the beer guy, it's because you changed, and then the other person was just so much not
right.
That person. But I mean, who would you rather sit and have a beer with? John F. Kennedy, who's banging Marilyn Monroe, or Richard Nixon? Bottom line,
right.
It's not even I'm not and again, I'm not trying to get political, but it's that
it's just a personable.
It's just
type
the
thing.
personable thing. And you can go back forever. Lincoln Douglas. Lincoln seemed way cooler, I guess.
Back in the 1800s, yeah.
This guy's got a cool hat. And look at I mean, he taught himself how to be a lawyer. What did you ever do, Stephen Douglas?
Built his own house? Yeah.
Nothing. Go away.
Go do something else.
Yeah, no. This guy's cool. He's tall. He can hoop it, even though we haven't invented that yet. Yeah, I think there are guys in my mind that I think people could get behind, but I thought about, for certain parts of America, it would be like Mike Gundy.
Yeah.
Or a guy like Mike Gundy, or when Ed Orgeron was coaching, it might have been Ed Orgeron. Ed 2019 would have been America's coach.
Yep.
Because you couldn't not, unless you just hated LSU with every fiber of your being, which many people do, in the
I don't know
SEC.
how you could.
You couldn't, even then, it's you compare it to Urban Meyer. If you hate Urban Meyer so much and you don't like it, but if somebody else was more friendly, was the coach of that team. Look, I'll just say it. I like Steve Spurrier way more than I like Urban Meyer, and I don't even mind that Steve Spurrier has a national championship under his belt that he won against Florida State as much as I would if it had been if the same situation had been flipped. Now I mind, but I mind less than if the situation was flipped, And so
yeah, Ed O's a great answer.
Yeah, I mean, he's not eligible for America's coach now, but he would have been America's coach in 2019.
I don't think enough people know this person, but like Marcus Freeman would be.
Yeah, young, exciting,
exciting, very carries himself really well.
Good sense of humor.
Yeah, understands kind of like the modern world pretty well.
I would say the characteristics have to be really good coach, not necessarily the elite of the elite.
Mm-hmm.
If they've won a national like an Ed O, but I think Pete Carroll could have won this title easily back in his time. Affable, does not take themselves too seriously, which means Dabo is out. And there was a time where Dabo maybe would have been this guy.
Yeah, because he was funny. I mean, he was just kind of this fun Southern guy. I mean, I remember that. I think it was when they beat Notre Dame, and he gave that "Bring Your Own Guts" he was getting interviewed on the field, and he's like, "I told my guys, BYOG, bring your own guts," and that kind of went viral, and it was fun to see him in that element. But he's changed a lot. Yeah. I also thought about Kirk Ferentz, but he's kind of gotten more prickly through the years.
Yeah, I mean,
he would do fine in the Midwest, obviously.
He would do fine, but I'm I might put him on the ticket to balance it out, but I'm not. Yeah. I'm not. He might be vice coach. I don't know. I would rather have a Kyle Whittingham who has a lot of that Kirk Ferentz in him, but also has just enough I don't give a crap about this stuff, where Kirk Ferentz right now, and I get it. Like, everybody's like, your son sucks. And he's like, yeah, but he's my son. I love him no matter the fact, most of this is really my fault. I hate the forward pass. And
you know who it would have been before he left? His job was Lincoln Riley.
Yeah.
I feel like he was just universally liked. He had a fun offense. And then he took the job at USC.
He's just destroying briskets.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't
do
ahi tuna or whatever he's doing. You can't do that.
What about Dan Lanning?
Dan Lanning.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. I think he might be my leader right now. I notice I haven't said Mike Norvell, because I think Mike Norvell is one of those guys that
he's a regional guy
He's a regional guy. Here's the other thing about him. He's not for everybody.
No.
He's really, I don't think he takes himself too seriously, but he's pretty damn serious. He's serious. He can't get up there and, I've never seen him have a press conference that's fun. I've never seen him have one that's contentious.
Yeah.
But I've never seen him have one that's
joking around up there.
Yeah, he's not like Lane Kiffin making jokes about their sponsor the other day.
Right.
And how many calories it has in it. That's a different thing altogether,
I know for me, two Big 12 coaches that come to mind, and one specifically for last year and this week is Neil Brown. The way he has kind of changed himself, I think him and Lance Leipold could be. Those are two guys I think you could really get behind. If you sat down with them and talked with them, I think you could really get behind those two.
I thought about Lance. My only thing is I'm just not sure how, those guys, neither of those guys are very charismatic. I mean, they're personable. I think they're easy to listen to. They're not going to get you super riled up. But I think the thing for Lane is he's just he kind of fought against being the villain or not the outcast, but just kind of the different, he's not your prototypical coach. And I feel like he sort of fought against that personality for a while. And he finally just embraced it and was like, okay, I'll be sort of the wild card. I'll be the guy that posts memes and has fun online. And he went after Paul Feinbaum recently. I mean, he's just he's kind of in a truth-telling mode right now.
He's not afraid.
Right.
Which I want from my coach. He's not afraid to push to push it a little bit. And he appears to have grown up.
Yes.
He appears to have grown up.
Yes.
He is maybe a reflection on a lot of us, where we had a time in our life where we were almost cool, but we weren't what we are because we had to learn some things. And I think he's clearly the most successful of the Saban. He and Sark, the two of the Saban program.
Well, Kirby.
Well, yeah, but Kirby wasn't in the rehab program. Kirby was just in the feeder. Lane Kiffin and Sarkisian were in the Nick Saban Save Your Career program.
Yes. I need to put this on my resume so somebody will hire me type of thing.
Yeah, and and they both crushed that.
What would Dion's approval rating be?
Oh man, he's
polarizing.
He's too polarizing.
But he's so fun.
Yeah. Look, you put Dion, in a debate for America's coach against anybody. I mean, it's going to be advantage Dion. Dion versus Lane Kiffin in a debate would be really fun to see. So
those guys would have a blast. Yes.
Yeah. That would be good. Very rarely do you ever see two political candidates that both like debate. Like usually one of them is like, I just need to paint this person as slick so that when I lose in this debate, I'll be like, well, I mean, you saw it. I mean, he's just slick, right? Can't trust a guy who has all of his notes prepared.
He sounds coherent. Yeah.
That's what they'll do. So in that one, you couldn't do that because they're both that way. And then occasionally you'll get a race that's two slick people, and you're like, I don't know how I feel about this at all. I feel like I need to shower every time either one of them says a sentence. I'm going to go light a candle at church and cry for the future of the world. But I like Chris Kleiman has a real down-to-earth vibe to me.
He does.
He's very, he's funnier than I think people realize. I don't know if people know this. You're too young. Everybody on this side of the room is maybe too young to remember Bob Dole in 1996.
Yeah, I don't.
So Bob Dole ran for president against Bill Clinton in 1996 and lost. I mean, it wasn't close. Bob was old. He's a veteran. He was wounded in World War II, and he had to hold the pen to do that. I was 16. I went to see Bob Dole speak twice when he came to Fort Myers, and I would love to go to candidate speeches when I was a kid. I was into it. I was a nerd. It was always a cool thing to me. Like, this guy's running to be president. And we can just go here for free and listen to what he has to say. And so my dad and I would go. And Bob Dole on TV next to Bill Clinton just looked so old and rigid. You saw Bob Dole in person. I mean, he was just riffing, telling jokes. He had material. He had legit material. He had 5 minutes on Strom Thurmond. I mean, it was good stuff. Really good stuff. And then he'd be on TV and he'd be like, well, we need to cut taxes. And then you're like, well, yeah, we all know you need to cut taxes. And I'd be like, do some material, man.
Yeah. Do the bits. Come on.
Yeah, let's go. let's
get to the comfortable stuff.
You remember when you played Fort Myers and Naples? That was a hot show. The Ramada in Naples? Come on, man. You killed the Ramada.
Yeah, he had young Paul's vote. He energized young Paul.
Yeah, he killed the Ramada. This other guy, he's a bit of more of a rock star vibe, and you can tell that he gets ass, but,
He can play the saxophone.
Yeah. None of us like his wife. We get it. But, you, man, let's
show. Yeah.
Let's get in the Catskills, buddy. Let's take this on the road. And it didn't happen. But, yeah, okay, so let's settle on America's coach. Let's have a vote. We're going to say Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, that's my nominee.
Lane Kiffin. Garrett, who's your nominee?
Let's go Dan Lanning.
Dan Lanning. Okay, and my nominee will be Marcus Freeman.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to have a vote. Put it up in the chat room, somebody. Who is America's coach between those three?
This is our 538 poll that we're putting out there.
Yes. So,
who's the most hated coach today?
Yeah, retired stockbroker threw up Mac Brown.
He missed his window.
Yeah,
Mac would be a good one.
Yeah,
you get a lot of age concerns with him.
Yeah,
just joking. Mac's a fun guy.
Yeah, he is. He does not currently take himself too seriously, but when he was in the last waning years at Texas,
yeah,
he was taking himself too seriously.
Paul, who's the most hated coach in America now, college football wise?
See, now that Saban's gone, because Saban was probably universally loved and hated at an equal level.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Deion's got to be up there.
Deion, same thing as Saban.
Yep.
You either completely love him or you can't stand him. Kirby Smart's probably up there. What saves him is that there's a bombastic character in Colorado that, is always going to maybe catch people's attention faster than Kirby Smart, but Kirby Smart's won a lot.
One of my first thoughts was Brian Kelly. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Garrett.
yes.
But I think people just think he's weird. I don't know if people hate him.
Yeah.
They're just kind of like, that dude's just kind of strange.
I don't know, man. I think a lot of people hate him.
And maybe that too.
Oh, look. Some of our Tech fans threw out Joey McGuire.
Joey could.
Here's the thing.
Joey might.
Joey, here's the thing about Joey. He's probably in the next phase of America's coach. He needs a little more success.
Yeah.
But, like, I would certainly make him.
He would do super well. Yeah, he'd do really well regionally.
Yeah. If he was speaker,
He's like up for next re-election.
Speaker of the coach house.
Yes.
That would be good.
He's the rising star at the convention.
He's
right
a
now.
guy. He's a guy who could whip some bills. Hey, if they want a rule change and get Joey McGuire behind that, like, he's the guy you'd want to be like, hey, come here, Gundy, let me talk to you. Come here. Man, I just love playing you in football. It's so fun. You're such a smart coach. Let's just do these. Lubbock and Stillwater, underrated towns, right? Right. Oh, it's great. Yeah, man, it's so exciting. You know what we need to do? We need to change the rule in the kickoff. Let's change the rule in the kickoff.
Let's get it
you
done.
want it. I want it. Everybody wants it. This is really hard. The NFL's doing it. Come on, let's do it. And then Mike Gundy's like, yeah, what the hell ever. Okay, just I don't care.
Yeah, he's the mover and the shaker.
Yeah. No, I think so. I think when we do this again next year, when we vote for America's coach next year, Joey McGuire's got a better shot.
Oh, yeah.
So put the poll up in there, and we'll see who is America's coach between Marcus Freeman, Dan Lanning,
and Lane Kiffin.
We'll see. It's going to tell me a lot about your personality based on who you pick as well.
Yep.
Lane Kiffin's not the safe candidate.
No, he's not.
Dan Lanning's I think Marcus Freeman's the safe candidate.
For sure.
He's not controversial. Dan Lanning can be a little controversial. Lane Kiffin's very controversial, So we'll put that poll up in the room, America's coach. When we come back, going to do a short little Florida State Georgia Tech talk since I have not gotten to do it unencumbered yet this week. So you're here.
Let's do
Garrett's
it.
here. I'm here.
Week 0.
We're going to talk about Florida State and Georgia Tech in the battle for the Golden Shillelagh or whatever it is over there at the Aer Lingus Bowl. Or the Aer Lingus Classic. I'm not sure what.
I'm not either.
I don't do names. So, what? No. I think I heard what you said now. A different kind of lingus. A totally different kind of lingus that Emory is more interested in. This is the triple option.
Take the break, Garrett.
Not 365 Sports.
Host Paul Catalina.
Welcome back. 365 Sports, the triple option, Paul Catalina and Steven Simcox. And Steven,
I'm sorry. I have people texting me I should have mentioned Sonny Dykes. I think Sonny's a good. He would be a good.
yeah.
But
Senate Majority Leader, I'm making
Yeah.
Sonny Dykes.
I don't think he's up there with those three, but he is an affable guy.
He is.
He gets along with a lot of people.
Yes. I think we're at a nice time in the Big 12 for the media in that Dave Aranda's very affable. Mm-hmm. Scott Satterfield's really affable. I love talking to Kyle Whittingham, Chris Kleiman.
Right.
All those guys are. Lance Leipold I left out of this, and I probably maybe should not have. Although he can be a little bit more kind of grumpy old coach a little bit, but he's not really that. He's a nice balance. There's a lot of of course, Joey McGuire is,
Yeah.
like a happiness triple espresso. That's just what he is. And there's Sonny's great. There's nobody. Look, there's no Gary Pattersons in the league right now.
There's no
Gundy's the closest one, but he's not.
But he's
Gundy's
kind of
not paranoid. That was Gary's thing, was paranoia.
Gundy's just going to say what he's going to say.
Yeah.
And he doesn't really care about the fallout, which
Yeah.
I think is admirable. But we got real football this week, Paul.
We do. And my joy will become wrapped up in
Florida State.
85 scholarship players from Tallahassee, Florida. And, they've won their last, a 15. Well, no, they're not. Keep forgetting about that Orange Bowl. They've won their last, 15 16 regular season games, maybe even more. The Orange Bowl, while it counts, not something I really choose to
You don't even think about it.
Because it's just such an outlier to any kind of thing that's ever happened in the history of college football. But look, this is going to be tough. Georgia Tech's better. They're better. They're no slouch. Florida State in the darkest times was having a ton of trouble with them.
Right.
Then they didn't play them forever. And then when they did play them again, it's not been. When I was in school, Georgia Tech was one of the better teams in the ACC. As a matter of fact, my freshman year, Florida State jumped out to a big lead at home, and then Joe Hamilton was the quarterback at Georgia Tech and didn't miss a pass in the second half, and I think Florida State only won by a touchdown. That was the closest one I remember for a while before all of a sudden they just had no answer for him. A few years ago, they lost on the last-second field goal to him.
Yeah.
So it's always been a team that's been problematic historically, which I know shouldn't matter. It's always year to year, but there's always those teams that just are a bit of a thorn in your side that you've lost games to or you never seem to play your best against. Wake Forest has been that for FSU, but Georgia Tech is kind of in that mold a little bit historically for them. I think it's going to be an interesting game. I mean, it's a very new FSU team, but I think that because their offensive and defensive lines will be pretty good now, their defensive line will not have Jared Verse and Braden Fisk. That's a loss. But they have Marvin Jones Jr. is apparently as advertised. It's easy to get lost in the shuffle at Georgia,
right?
But now that he's over there, they've got a lot of veterans they brought in from the transfer portal. DJU will not be Jordan Travis, but I also think that he's about to play in the best offensive system he's ever played in. So everybody kind of wanted to blame DJU for the problems at Clemson, and I think that we've seen that he's been gone and Brandon Street has been gone, and they still kind of have the same issues. So maybe it wasn't. It's not that he's without blame for what's going on. He's the one that's out there playing, but whatever was going on was not totally working there for them. So I think Florida State wins this game. I'm gonna pause on saying they cover because I don't know anything about this offense like I did going into last year, where I would tell you that even before they got Keon Coleman, I'm like, look, Trey Benson was a dude. Jordan Travis was in the ascendancy to what he was last year. Johnny Wilson was great the year before, and then you throw in Keon Coleman and Jaheim Bell to that offense. It's like, well, I don't see what's going to be a problem for them. And defensively, you could see it the year before, too, coming. And then they added Braden Fisk, and it made them one of the top defenses in the country. If not, they were not the best statistically, but they were up there with Michigan. Garrett, if they had played Michigan in a game, your opinion, that's a 21-17 game at best.
Yeah, it was definitely probably a one-score
for both
game.
teams.
Yeah. Honestly, because I don't know if Michigan secondary could keep up with that receiving core.
Yeah.
That would be the question.
That was,
they had weapons there for sure.
And we went through it last year if you look at the playoff teams, I thought if at full strength of the 6 teams available in that were in the final 6, you could move those 6 around, which is what makes the 12-team playoff so much more intriguing in that, Michigan, pretty much handled Alabama, when it came down to it. But I don't think they would have handled FSU the same way. But I think Alabama could have handled, Texas again. Alabama clearly handled Georgia. So those things would have been interesting. I think, Florida State, Texas, and Washington, if you would put those 3 in any kind of round robin against each other, I don't know what everybody play 4 games against each other over time. I have no idea what their record would be because they were really very similar teams, very, very similar in what their strengths and weaknesses are. And I think that full-strength FSU last year would have been a nightmare matchup for most of the teams because of their defense and all. And Jordan Travis, the way he was playing all year. This year, I have no idea on that front. I'm very confident in the secondary is still very good, even though they lost Jones and Green. The linebackers, I think, are actually going to be a little bit deeper and better. And the defensive line, not maybe as super talented, but they've got dudes. And Patrick Payton is a dude who played last year, a lot. So Joshua Farmer's back. They've got depth at defensive tackle. I like what they're doing there. But offensive line, great, but I have no idea about the skill positions.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, who's kind of the go-to? I guess we'll just have to see what happens.
Well,
when
the
game
thing is,
starts.
they
Who's gonna
wanted
be the
to be
go-to player there?
Malik Benson, who was the top JUCO wide receiver a year ago, and went to Alabama, and then got lost in the shuffle, and caught he had 100 yards receiving last year, something like that. It was not obviously what they thought. So they think he's going to be the number one receiver, and then they've got a bunch of guys who've been there a little bit who are veterans, but they're not going to have at least out front of it's all of a sudden 3rd and 15 after a penalty. Let's have one of these dudes go make a ridiculous play. They don't have that. So, that's going to be different. Toafili at running back will be good. They've got other good running backs. They've got young, they're fine. But quarterback and wide receiver are huge question marks for them. So I think you're probably not going to see as high flying an FSU offense early on as you did maybe last year. But I think they'll still be efficient and good because of the coaching.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's always tricky starting the season with a conference game, especially when you're the favorite, because you just never know in week 1 or week 0 what's going to happen and where your deficiencies are going to be. But, I mean, this feels like a game that Florida State wins comfortably. And I know they got a lot of moving parts and a lot of people that have been replaced on this team, but there's just so much motivation from last year for that coaching staff and for guys that have been around that I feel like focus and those kind of things are going to be an issue, which is really, honestly, like mental mistakes and kind of silly things like that are the biggest bugaboo in week 1 when you're talking about teams that should win comfortably if they handle their business.
Yeah, I haven't checked what the line is today. I know that they were like plus 10 or something like that, or minus 10, whatever. Like they were favored solidly, but they're in Ireland. I want to know how the guys who are coming back respond to the snub and let it motivate them but not crush them.
Right.
Because if you keep
harping on it.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Vengeance only works in small doses, right? So if they're out for blood, I don't know how long that can last.
Yeah.
Before
how sustainable it is.
How sustainable it is, other than, this is a new year. I was really mad about that. I can't wait to go get a chance to prove it. Now that there's a 12-team playoff, I hope we get to play as many games as we can, as opposed to, a committee was like 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops.
Sorry,
one guy broke
guys.
his leg, so you guys are out. And that's the reason, and not any other one at all. It's just simply that. Okay, well, if J.J. McCarthy broke his leg, would you have put Michigan out?
Yeah.
If Michael Penix broke his leg, would you have put Washington out? Maybe, because that would have gotten Georgia in. But, if you just say, okay, so let's say J.J. McCarthy breaks his leg this morning when you're making this decision. Are you taking him out? Are you taking Michigan out? Jordan Travis is out. J.J. McCarthy broke his leg, so
come on, Georgia, you're in now.
yeah, you're in. We already told Florida State no, so Georgia, you're in. Bama, you're in. Congratulations on having broken legs.
Yeah, congratulations on keeping your key guys healthy.
Yeah. So, I know. I think Georgia Tech's gonna be fun to watch this year, based on their past few years. But maybe Florida State's depth should get them. But I've watched Florida State teams come off of great seasons and go places and just hit the wall.
Right.
So, I don't know. We'll see. But we got to get to the wheel.
Gotta get to it.
Otherwise, an angel won't get his wings today.
Those are the stakes. Yep.
The Wednesday wheel. Steven has put 12 teams on the wheel.
Well, I put all the Big 12 teams. I put the teams that everyone might not think about as favorites in one.
So all 16 teams are on the wheel.
Yes.
He's going to spin the wheel, and I'll tell you how they'll win the conference. That's what we're going to do. The Wednesday Wheel of Whimsy comes up next. This is 365 Sports.
Fantasy Sports EVO, the next evolution of daily fantasy sports. Tired of traditional fantasy sports where you spend hours upon hours studying individual players? EVO's unique team-based platform makes it easier than ever for all sports fans to play. No need to know individual players. Just choose your contest, select your teams, and enjoy the game. Whether you access our website from a desktop, mobile device, or the app, the experience is the same. EVO is for all sports fans. Join Fantasy Sports EVO and experience the evolution.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome back, Paul Catalina and Steven Simcox. And Steven, we did not do game previews for Montana State and New Mexico or SMU at Nevada. And I apologize to those fan bases. Maybe I'll get to them tomorrow. But those are our 3 games this week. And thanks to Jack, who just sent a really cool website, collegefootball.cfb.guide, which has the all of the games, TV times and networks scheduled out week in and week out.
Jack is so talented.
He really is.
So versatile.
Yes. I think we pay him too much, but that's just because of his attitude.
Just because he's an agent, you know.
Look, sometimes he's got an attitude that makes you think he should make half as what he makes. I know that that's not just or polite in society, but just saying that some days he has an attitude that's like $1 million attitude. Some days he has a 1931 minimum wage attitude. Just saying.
Before we get to the wheel, Paul, go into your Steve Kornecki corner. We got early returns here on our Coach of America poll. This is it's 9 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah.
We're starting to see some states come in.
I should have set it up
on the touch screen.
Yeah, I can. Yeah. Well, so far right now, as the votes are coming in, Dan Lanning leads the poll at 50%.
Wow, and the West Coast vote's not even in.
Yeah, the West Coast vote's not even in.
My goodness.
Marcus Freeman is in last at 17% and Lane Kiffin at 33%. So
if you're in line to vote, stay in line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Please do.
Yeah.
I've seen enough. I think Dan Lanning's going to do it.
I can't wait for Lane Kiffin to say, well, I would have won if Mike Pence had the courage.
Lane would definitely demand a recount of some sort.
All right, here we go, the Wednesday Wheel of Whimsy.
Big 12 teams.
Big 12 teams, I'm going to tell you how they win the conference.
Let's do it.
Like what has to go right for them to win the conference. And some of these teams is everything. Literally everything. They have to find, like, when they find change on the street, it has to be like a gold doubloon from a Spanish galleon. Like, that's what it will have to be.
That's how it has to go. Spin that wheel.
Oklahoma State. Alan Bowman has to play better than he even did last year. Raise his game a little bit.
Dr. Alan Bowman.
Yeah, doctor, yes. He might be a doctor 2 times over. PhD, MD, you know.
Yeah.
He might have a lawyer too. I'm one of those guys.
Get on LinkedIn, Alan. Good job, brother.
Alan Bowman's got to play better. I think their defense and running game will be the same. I think you'll see about the same team you did last year. But if they want to win this league, legit win this league, they've got to have Alan Bowman play at the level or close to it of the elite quarterbacks in the league, of which I'm not putting him in that category. I'm putting him in the quarterback of a quarterback in this league.
Do you like their QR codes on helmet ideas?
Yeah, I guess. I
don't really know how practical it is.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm going to have to get it off the screen for a second.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's outside the box for sure, though.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State's good, man.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a formula that's going to travel.
Yeah.
They run the ball well. They play good defense. But, yeah, it does come down to QB for them.
Yeah. And, again, like, I don't have time to go through all the schedules because this is what makes it really difficult. But if they're going to be in the Big 12 title game and win the Big 12, like, that's the thing that has to happen. That's the consistent thing. Mm-hmm. So that's the note we're going for here is what consistent thing has to happen here. Okay. Here we spin again. Kansas. This one's easy. Jalen Daniels plays all the games. If Jalen Daniels plays all the games, I don't see any reason why this team is not in the title game.
That offense is special. Lance Leipold's a good coach. Yeah, I mean, It really does come down to Jalen Daniels is back.
Of every quarterback that's in this league, Jalen Daniels and Cam Rising are the ones I would want in the fourth quarter the most. Let's go make a play right now.
And the other part of that, too, is you don't have Jason Bean anymore, who was like a lifeline for you for the last few years.
But, yeah, I think their defense will be, like, it's taken steps forward every year. I think you'll see a very good Kansas team. But if Jalen Daniels is not there and they have to go to the backup, is it going to be as effective as Jason Bean? I don't know. But if they want to be a playoff team, Jalen Daniels has to be healthy.
Yeah.
Bottom line, he's the guy who can make them a playoff team. Iowa State, this one's harder. They can't really have injuries. Like, they can't have like a big one, I don't think. But they have two really good wide receivers. They've got a really good running back. Rocco Becht in the second year as the starter, should be even more fun to watch this year. Their defense is going to be good, but they have to be more consistent on offense than they've been, which I think they will be with these returning starters and the playmakers they have, especially in the passing game. But as long as they can keep games close in the fourth quarter, I think they're going to win a lot of games. But I don't know if they have the overall talent to do it, to be a 10-2 team. I think they'd be close. And we're talking now that 10-2 is probably winning this league, or in the championship game for sure. We're talking about 10-2 being top of the charts. I see them at their best being 9-3, but which I think might get you in the championship game if the rest of the league goes that way. But I think you're looking at probably two 10-2 teams that are in this championship game.
Matt Campbell had a real renaissance last year. Yeah. I mean, it kind of got to a place where I was like, maybe it was just Brock Purdy and Breece Hall being really good. And, they lost their quarterback before the season. Rocco Becht came in and did a nice job. So I don't really think this is a title-winning team. I feel like they're going to be solid. But, yes, it comes down to being more dynamic on offense and kind of continuing that, not really a rebuild, but getting back to where they were in like 2019, 2020.
They need to have it where it's consistent.
Yes.
And not where they have like a good couple years and a down couple years and all of that, which it's more consistent than it was because they'd have like 2 good years and then
40 bad.
And then 40 years of
just wilderness.
Just, oh, this guy's good. Have you seen our middle linebacker? Yeah, we like him. What about the other linebackers?
We got a good punter.
Well, they're on the wrestling team too, so good for them.
They can't commit the time needed. Kansas State.
They're in Kansas State. Avery Johnson is special, and again, people get tired of me talking about like how good he is. He's very, very, very good. What they need though is for the passing game to be a legit threat, and that's going to be the biggest question because there are going to be games where there's going to be a defense out there that doesn't let him get loose, that has a good plan for him. That now that they've seen through the middle of the season, there's going to be 6 games on tape of him, and 7, 8, 9 games somebody might go, here's what we're going to do, and we're not going to let him get loose. And the threat that he is mostly right now with his feet because he's so fast. But if you take that away, can he throw you to a win? Do you have receivers that can win, those jump balls and things like that, that a quarterback like him that is in the, Mahomes, Manziel, when things break down, it's even worse. When the defense does its job perfectly right at first, it's not necessarily the best thing because if you don't get it, or near perfect, if you don't get him, then he's out and he's making things up and it's the worst. If you have a defense that can contain that part of it, then they'll struggle. But I've picked them to win the league. So I think they'll be good on both sides of the ball where it's just going to be tough to beat them.
I think they'll end up being good enough in the trenches for the league that it might not matter, but you did lose Cooper Beebe and Katori Levison. Those are big losses. Avery Johnson's a special athlete, though. And, the way that they're so consistent, having a dynamic player like that at that position is sort of like the Colin Klein days again, where it's like, man, you have a special QB along with all the kind of nuts and bolts around him being very solid. And I haven't had a chance to mention this because I haven't been here lately, but are we as a nation ready for like Will Howard to be the starting quarterback on a team that is in the national title race?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, that Ohio State team is like loaded, man.
Yeah.
And then it's Will Howard. And I like Will Howard, but it's just kind of crazy that he's going to be the guy.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
Here we go. West Virginia.
If West Virginia beats Penn State, I think I would move him up three notches on my chart, because I think that means they'll be a very confident team, and they've got a quarterback also in that mold of like, all right, let's see what happens when it breaks down. His passing has gotten better and better each year. They need to establish some threats on the outside, but I think both sides of the ball are balanced enough to where they could contend for this thing. They really could, and it's just about developing those young players. Also, keeping those running backs and Garrett Green healthy, because it's going to be built around the run, and quarterbacks who run a lot. This goes for same for Avery Johnson, and we talk about Jalen Daniels. That means that they get hit more.
Yeah.
So Garrett Green's going to get hit more than a quarterback who doesn't run as much. Can they keep those guys healthy? If C.J. Donaldson is healthy the whole year, and they've got those two backs together, kind of thunder and lightning, and then the quarterback, that's a rushing attack is going to be a problem for everyone.
I'm kind of sensing regression for West Virginia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they surprised some people last year. I think Garrett Green's solid, but I could see people exposing him a little bit more. And you just wonder, I like Neil Brown a lot. Garrett mentioned it in that first segment. Like, he's a fun dude to rally around, but do you see some drop off from last season, kind of that nobody believes in us? Hey, let's all get around the coach and save his job. I don't know. I think some of that could have overinflated expectations for them, but I think they're a solid football team, and this is the type of league where they could thrive if they can run the football successfully, like you said.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like they can, and like Gibbons is their I mean, he's not even C.J. Johnson's not necessarily running back one. I just think that with a guy who can be just such a pounder like that, that you can get into the fourth quarter and just be like, all right, well, try to tackle this guy 10 times. Good luck with that.
Yeah, and just move the chains during the game, too.
Yeah, that's something that they'll have. Oh, hey.
It just landed on Arizona.
Wow. I mean, that's the one I wanted. I was thinking about them for like 2 spins.
TV magic.
Yeah, there we go. Arizona, fun quarterback, great wide receiver. Another guy that they have at wide receiver, Montana Lamonius Craig, is someone I'm curious to see playing the Big 12 as well. They took some hits on defense in the transfer portal, but they did maintain Chikario Davis, which had helped them a ton, in the secondary. They've got to get after the passer. They've got to create havoc on defense. I think their offense will be fine. But can they win games on defense? That's the biggest thing is that, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Iowa State can all win games on defense. Can Kansas win a game on defense if they have to? Can West Virginia win a game on defense if they have to? Can Arizona win a game on defense if they have to? I think those are, of the teams we've talked about, like that's a question that, because you're going to have to win a game playing differently than you normally do at least once.
Yeah, I think the lack of consistency is just going to be the biggest thing that hurts them here, or lack of continuity as opposed to the other teams in the league. But I feel like they have the best quarterback in the league, and that, maybe Jalen Daniels, but Noah's a good player, and that makes a huge difference. Like, that can win you a few games. So if that gets you over the hump in one or two of these ball games, and suddenly you could find yourself in Arlington, I definitely don't feel like it's a stretch that we could see Arizona there at the end of the season playing for a Big 12 title.
Oh, we have a shift in the voting real quick, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Lane
Kiffin is at 41% now and leads. Marcus Freeman and Dan Lanning in a dead heat for second at 29% each.
What a swing.
Yeah, huge swing.
The young people logged on late.
Yeah, exactly.
Mail-in votes are coming in.
Yeah, so we've got a swing. So
there you go.
Is the floor tilted a certain way over here? Utah. What Utah has to do is be Utah again. Cam Rising healthy. Their defense is going to punish you. Stay healthy at the skill positions, which they didn't last year either. Like, they were banged up. But if Brant Keithy, Micah Pittman, and Cam Rising all stay healthy and that running game gets after you, I mean, I wish they had Sione Vaki this year. He's with the Lions, and he might wind up being their, like, getting some carries there. Like, it was barely a running back last year. Like, he's
how good he is.
How good he was going to be and how athletic. I wish, again, he would have stayed another year so we could have seen him play running back and safety for Kyle Whittingham with Cam Rising back. But, look, you do what you do, and you go. But I think Utah is not going to have a lot of problems. I really don't.
No, I think it's just all about Cam and how quickly he can get acclimated to playing ball again.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got a couple of their tougher matchups, too, are at home, which Rice-Eccles is a tough place to play.
Yeah, it is.
All right. I'm going to make it like a huge spin. Like, I'm going to really whip this.
All right, here we go.
Oh.
Did you just break?
I think I just broke the thing. Oh, yeah, it's broken.
All right.
Well.
Let's go with Baylor, BYU, Cincy, Houston, and Arizona State.
These are all teams that everything has to go absolutely perfectly.
Perfectly right, yeah.
Like, every one of them has the same kind of issues. Baylor has the best shot of all these teams to jump out of it because they've got a coaching staff that's been there. They've got some players that have been there. I'm really sad about this
wheel situation.
Wheel situation. I guess we got to get another. I mean, it's not my fault. It's shoddy.
Those four.
Paid for it.
Those five teams are like the wheel right now, just a little bit broken. You're gonna need some. Some TLC.
That's the 1931 minimum wage attitude I was
Jack
talking
just
about.
walked out. He's so like you thought you were mad. Jack left the studio. Christian Bale over here just yelled at us and then walked away.
Yeah, I mean that's that attitude I'm talking about.
It's like Shia LaBeouf stepped in the studio. All right, Colorado.
Look. Colorado. Block and tackle. 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 That's what they need to do. They were horrible at blocking and tackling. It's almost as if they're coached by a guy who never in his career blocked and or tackled.
Yeah, it's never good when your best player is like, hey, our offensive line sucks in this game. It's just like real life.
Yeah. So
all right.
Yeah, that's what they need to do. Block and tackle.
TCU, be nice. You don't have to be nice.
They've got to find their mojo. Like, they got to find, like, they need continuity. I mean, obviously, Josh Hoover's going to have to be what Sonny Dykes keeps saying he is.
I hope I'm wrong. They have issues in the trenches.
Yeah,
there's no way to scheme around.
I mean, they've got to block and tackle too. But like, I think that they'll be probably better prepared for it.
They'll be,
But I think that this is a year away from me being comfortable going, yeah, they're
ready to go.
Yeah, they're ready to go.
Okay, Texas Tech.
Oh, look, block and tackle. Keep your quarterback healthy.
Yeah.
If Baron Morton plays most of the games, you're going to see a team that's probably going to contend. But if they have to keep going through quarterbacks and then, hey, true freshman who is almost ready but not quite, you're going in and it's going to hurt. Like, it's try telling a third quarterback in the year, like, oh, no, nothing bad's going to happen. Like, no, just watch those two guys. These guys are getting their ass kicked. That's not my fault.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to do that.
Well, it's always a tough balance, but I also think Joey's kind of got to step in and be like, Zach Kitley, you need some help here. But let's wrap up with UCF.
We wrap up with UCF. And, I mean, this broken wheel it's going to break me. So, UCF, they got to tackle. I think they'll block well, but they've got to learn how to win a game on defense. Mm-hmm. They have to learn how to win a game on defense. KJ Jefferson should be fun to watch. They've got wide receivers. They got running backs. They're loaded on offense. They have some talent on defense, that's for sure. But they have to scheme it up right, and they have to be able to win games on defense, which last year they could not do. It was basketball on grass if they won. It was basketball on grass a lot of times if they lost. Sometimes it was basketball on grass and they lost and nobody told them it was basketball on grass. They had this wild kind of season, first season of the Big 12. But I think if everything goes well, last Thursday, I was on a UCF podcast, and one of the hosts was in the doldrums about, like, he was worried about everything, and, I could tell he's been hurt. But I was like, man, from the outside looking in, I'm
pretty
bullish.
solid. Yeah.
I mean, he was like, yeah, I'm worried about KJ Jefferson. I'm like, I'm not. You seen that dude? He's like, yeah, but he was inconsistent in Arkansas. So was everyone.
He didn't fit the scheme. The scheme
didn't
did
fit the
not
scheme.
fit him last year at
No.
all.
He is who he is. You got to work within it. But there's an offense that works with him.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how strong I am. I broke the wheel.
That's right. Garrett, put a QR code up so we can start a GoFundMe for a new wheel.
Yeah. All right. So final poll results. I'm gonna reload the page just to make sure that I'm accurate.
Live from the Situation Room.
Yeah. Final poll results. Lane Kiffin is America's coach.
Wow.
At 47% of the vote, and Marcus Freeman and Dan Lanning, both with 26%. And better luck next year, guys.
Yeah.
But we might have new candidates. There's young upstarts.
You might not capture that magic again.
There's young upstarts that have passed an infrastructure bill below you, and they're ready for you to move out of the way. Although the oldest coach on this list is Lane Kiffin. He's like 47. So Dan Lanning and Marcus Freeman, young guys.
Yeah.
Like barely out of their 20s. So
They got time.
they got lots of time. So better luck next year. Lane Kiffin is America's coach 2024.
Congrats, Lane.
Yeah, hail to the chief. This afternoon, we have a very good show because Brett McMurphy's on, among others. He'll be on at 5 o'clock. Kelly Quinlan, Rivals.com and Yahoo Sports Network, live from Dublin. He covers Georgia Tech. Chris Houston, host of the Heisman Trophy podcast. Dan Lyons of Athlon College Football. Brett McMurphy and JJ Joe, Baylor radio color analyst and former quarterback, and my top 5 today. We're talking defensive line and the perfect college football team. So that should be fun. That's going to do it for us. Thanks to Steven Simcox, the Wednesday Wonderkind. We'll see you next week, Steven. Bye.